Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and yeah, I couldn't wait. We are on episode 2 of Chihayafuru, and after last week, no, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go ahead and watch episode 2 at least. But I did wait a couple days. I waited several days, actually, to try to catch up with other shows on the channel. It's so wild because if you know my channel at all, there's another OVA for a series that just came out. It's on the channel a few days ago. It has a spot in it where they talked about the game of Kurata, and I was like, is this timing? Is this the stars aligning? Is this all coincidence? Was this meant to be? It feels meant to be. So I was so elated. I'm so glad that I'd watched episode 1 of Chihayafuru before watching that OVA, because they were doing some of the moves that Arata did last week, and I was like, oh, okay. So yes, we have met Chihaya. She is adorable. I love her. She is so precocious. She just says whatever comes to her mind, and that's kind of to her detriment sometimes, but she has a good heart. And she has 2 young men that she has struck their fancy, seemingly. We have Taichi, who is the hot-headed, rambunctious kid. We haven't seen much of him as a teenager yet. We've just seen him as this little hot-headed kid, but he clearly likes her. And he's clearly jealous of Arata, who's the quiet, cool as a cucumber seeming young man who comes from a poorer household, but he has a strong passion for Kurata and has gotten Chihaya into this as well. So they set up so much in the last episode with like them coming together as elementary school kids and seemingly maybe falling apart in middle school, and now they're back together in high school, or at least Taichi and Chihaya are. But Taichi doesn't want her to keep playing the game, which, like, dude, that's not cool. And so I'm curious to see if maybe he knows about Arata from high school and knows if he's changed. But I'm on board with these 3 characters already, and I can't wait to see more of them and kind of more of their backstory and to see where it's coming from. And I'm really excited about that. So this first episode hooked me, and now I want to know what's going to happen next. So with that being said, before we start, I do want to give a quick shout out over to our Patreon. I want to thank everybody on Patreon, because whether you're in the $1 tier and you get to vote in the polls and get on the Discord and talk about this show, or whether you are in the $5 tier, they get to do that and see everything a week ahead of time. Or if you are in the philanthropy tier, which means it's $10 and you're just donating to me to get all the perks and because you're awesome and want to support the channel, I appreciate all of that. And I appreciate the commissions that are on there too from that tier. But the philanthropy tier, one of their perks, they get to break ties in the polls, and they also get a shout out in videos like these. So I want to thank the generous patrons who have donated a little extra each month that has helped make this channel what it is. So thank you to Alex Cornejo. Thank you to Anime Annie, to Be Happy, to Bryant Reed, to Dana, to Damage3245, to Devorin, to Danger Zone, to Destiny Marie, to Eric, to Ichu, to Ghostly Turnip, to Show, to El Freya, Liam Polzel, Lyndon, Matthew Palfinier, Murphew, Nago, Nicholas, Adam Perez, Alexandra Q, as well as Sunspots, Shimoyama, Starman, AA, Trails, Translucent Men, and Bisa. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, I'm really excited. I have no clue what to expect out of this episode. I'm assuming, I'm very curious to see how long. I'm assuming it might be most of season 1 that we do the back and forth flashbacks of them in grade school versus high school to see like how their relationships were versus how they've changed now. Because I feel like whatever has happened that 6th grade year they were together is going to influence their interactions now back and forth. So I'm going to be curious to see how they organize that and what all is entailed in that. But I'm really, really excited, y'all. So I'm probably going to try to watch episodes 2 and episode 3 before y'all get started with the series to give me a little bit of time ahead so I can, get enough ahead to where I won't be immediately spoiled, even though I plan to have a moderator for this series. So in any case, we're going to get started and see what happens. So I hope y'all enjoy this reaction and discussion, but we are going to start episode 2 of Chihayafuru, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, I'm in love with the show already. I am so in love with this show already. Oh my God. I love the the dynamic between these three already. And like I said before I started the episode, even though I love Chihaya and Arata so much, I feel like I have to be kind of open-minded because they're giving us stuff with Taichi that I'm like, ooh, that is setting the stage for some character growth. That is setting the stage for him to come back. Although I don't know. This series may not even give us an end game. It may not even give us like a fruits basket end game between the three of them. But I definitely kind of want Arata and Chihaya as end game, but I don't want to know if that's what's going to be the case. And I definitely want to be open-minded because I definitely think that Chihaya and Taichi have a lot of like setup where they could have good chemistry in high school. So we'll just have to see how, and the situation could be reversed where Arata is the jealous one and once they're in high school. So we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see where that goes. But I want to talk about this episode. I wrote up here about our three, Taichi, Chihaya, and Arata, because there's some things we know about them from this episode and some things I want to add on to it. But I just love that Chihaya, she has finally found something that she wants to pursue for herself. And something that I wrote for Chihaya, she is kind and brave. Like, it is very brave for her to stick up for Arata. It's very brave for her not to cave into peer pressure, especially at that age. Like, she's, you know, you could say she's stubborn, but she's so strong-willed and brave to stick by her friend and someone she cares about, despite what peer pressure is telling her to do. Like, that's really, really awesome. And she's so kind-hearted. And a lot of the things she does in this episode are to be a good friend. And I was like, that's so awesome. But also, I feel so bad for her. I feel bad for all three of these main characters, but I feel so bad for her because she definitely is the overshadowed little sister, that the parents are just focused about the big sister and her becoming a model and all of this, that they don't recognize her accomplishments. And when the sister's like, oh, that's lame and boring, the thing that gets me is that she doesn't let it get to her. She reminds me a lot of Toru Honda from Fruits Basket. Reminds me a lot of her. And I feel so bad for her because, you know, a lot of other people would break down and be really, really depressed and sad, but she kind of just brushes it off and she's like, it's fine. As long as she has, you know, people, I feel like that's what ties her so much into her high school years to wanting to keep Kurata alive, because she's like, oh, come on, we can keep going, because it gives it worth to her if she has people to play with that she cares about, that she has people going along with it that she cares about, like Arata and Taichi, then it will make it worth it, even if her own family doesn't approve of it or agree with her. And I felt so bad for her, of her being the overshadowed sister. I knew two sisters growing up in high school that one was like the perfect older sister. She was like Olga from Hey Arnold, where she was like everything she touched was gold. And the younger sister was just kind of overshadowed even when she did good for herself. And I always felt bad for her because I was like, damn, that sucks. So I'm glad I didn't have that situation growing up. So my brother and I are polar opposites, and we have enough years behind us, between us, that we never really competed for anything. And we both have very different talents and skill sets. So it's like, no. But she's also very determined. And once she sets her mind on something, she is dead set that's going to go through. And I love that. I think that that's so fun. And I love that she is kind of inspired by Arata, that he kind of, I mean, all three of these main characters are in some way, shape, or form kind of starved for attention. And they've been sort of neglected, either by the system, by their families, or just in general. And I feel for her. She clearly, you know, wants somebody to praise her and tell her that she, you know, it should be her dream and she should do stuff for herself. And Arata does that for her. And I'm like, and then she does it for him. And it's so sweet. But I'll be honest, Taichi, I think, is going to have the most character growth of this entire series. And I'm really excited for Taichi's character growth because he definitely just, I love where his character is now, and I love where it can go in the future. I'm so excited to see how he grows as a character, because he starts out where, you know, we start the episode off with Taichi being like, everybody's going to ignore you at school. And she's like, I don't care. And Taichi kind of has this, see, I told you so, they're going to ignore you. And if you just join us and join the peer pressure crowd and make fun of Arata, then you'll get back into the cool kids. And she's like, I don't care. She's like, you think I care about these people? And I was like, work. So Taichi, I do feel bad for Taichi after the mom's conversation. And again, I know people like Taichi growing up because I was from a very small town and sports were everything. which makes you roll your eyes. Like I feel like small towns don't have a lot to offer, so they get kind of obsessed with little things like small pond problems, and small town athletics are like such a toxic environment sometimes because it's like literally all the town has going for it. So they're like, we have a team that's going to win state. And I'm like, yeah, but none of them are going to play in the MLBs. So, none of them are playing in the NBA. I hate to tell you, and that's kind of what Taichi seems like. I knew kids growing up whose parents were like, if you don't win, it's not worth doing. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that's such a toxic mentality because if you don't let people fail and find their passion and fail and let that motivate them to work harder, then they're not going to be functional adults. I'm sorry. It's going to lead to a lot of problems down the road. And so I feel bad that Taichi's mom is like, well, if you don't win, it's not even worth looking at. It's like, really? And I feel like maybe, he talked about playing middle school soccer and that's what he's pursuing because that's what he's good at, because that's what his parents have probably told him he has to do to be successful. And so, but I also feel like that kind of ties into maybe his relationship with Chihaya, that at first he wanted to like be the one to like catch her eye and be who she's attracted to. But when he saw that Arata was going to win those affections, maybe he was like, oh, well, since I'm not going to be the victor, which is such a weird way to look at it, but he's like, if I'm not going to be the one to win her heart, then what's the point of pursuing her if I can't be the one to do it? And it's like, that's not healthy. And so maybe that's why he just, ignored her and went on and got another girlfriend. But then when he met back up with her and saw there was a chance that he could win, he was instantly ready to dump the other girlfriend and be with her because he genuinely likes Chihaya, but that's not the right mentality to have. So his character gives me so much growth. And the fact that he stole the glasses and that Chihaya didn't know that he stole the glasses and she doesn't find out in this episode, but Arata knows, is such a foundational moment that I'm like, oh, they're going to come back to this. They're going to come back to the glasses thing by the end of this series, whether it's season 1, 2, 3, whatever. They're going to come back to that moment eventually. And it's going to be like a full circle thing. I can just tell that it's going to be a full circle thing because honestly, him taking the glasses is the catalyst that starts this whole trajectory with Chihaya. Him taking the glasses and being a little prick is what starts all of this. And so inadvertently, I'm like, dude, inadvertently, you've sealed your fate. Whether it's her ending up with you or ending up with Arata or whatever, or all three of you going different ways, your actions have kind of caused this whole thing to take shape. Because I think that if he hadn't sold the glasses, I think that Arata would have won easily. But would that have stopped the bullying? Here's the thing. I think Chihaya, she kind of becomes the neutralizing third party in this because he steals the glasses and because Arata can't play properly, she steps in. And so by her winning, the thing of it is now it's like everything's null and void. You can't fully make fun of Arata because then she's going to bring up the glasses being stolen, that it wasn't fair and that it was kind of like cheating. And then Arata, I'm sure Taichi's not going to push the subject because he's going to be worried, is Arata going to out him? And then, so it kind of just like all the childhood bullying for that specific point is kind of like over. And Chihaya kind of steals the spotlight, which deflects all of the bullying off of Arata. So it kind of does its job. It's so cool how that goes about. But I just love her standing up. And I love the facial expressions in this series. It's so good. And the fact that Taichi, he is a coward. And he is constantly kind of in awe of how brave Chihaya is. And the thing about it is he sort of misunderstands. He assumes that she is sticking up for Arata because she likes him. But the reality is they're only in 6th grade. She doesn't romantically like Arata. She's just being a nice person because Arata doesn't have any friends. And it's one of those things where Arata doesn't have any friends and nobody's sticking up for him. So she, who knows what it's like to kind of be outed by her own family, because they oust her out of the way for her sister, she knows what that isolation is like. So she's like, I'm not like you, Taichi, who have all these friends, supposed friends, who instantly turn on him during the game, by the way. They're not real friends. But she thinks, she's like, well, you've got a support system, but Arata doesn't have a support system. So I'm just being a buddy to him because somebody needs to. And she genuinely cares for him, like as a friend. And Taichi gets so jealous. and thinks that she's just ignoring him. But the reality of it is that Chihaya, she thinks that Taichi is fine. She thinks he's got this. And high school Taichi kind of gives us the insight that, you know, he's getting older and maybe kind of wearing out with some of the toxicity around him, or he seems to be. He's kind of detached and apathetic, whereas she's still pursuing this drive. And so he kind of projects some of that apathy on her in episode 1, where he's like, you should just give up on Kurata because it's not going to lead you anywhere. Like, because that's the mentality his parents have forced on him. And so he's kind of accepted that mentality. And she's like, no, I'm not giving up. Like, why would you give up? You came all this way to come to the same high school as me. Why would you do that? And it's like, So I just love the fact that we're getting more into Taichi's character. I'm really excited about his character because I feel like there's so much growth ahead for him, because he comes across as this arrogant little snot, but then you see the mentality of his home life and how that's shaping him, and you totally get why he is the way that he is. But yeah, he just thinks, the thing that's so crazy is he appears to have this support system with all being the popular kid that has all the friends, but then once the game starts and he starts to lose, the friends are all like, man, he's kind of lame. Arata's kicking his ass. And it's like, these aren't real friends. Like, Chihaya is a real friend. And they're like, there's nothing to like about this puny and poor bumpkin. And then Chihaya says there is. She's like, he's really good at karate. I love that she stands up for him. And of course, Arata's like, okay. So Taichi has this sense of forced passion. His parents tell him that he has to be, you know, as long as you're winning, that's all that matters. So it's like, does he really like karate, or is he just kind of playing it because he's good at it? He seems like he has to be forced to have certain passions. He clearly wants attention because he wants genuine attention. And I feel like him and Chihaya are similar in that regards, because they both want genuine attention because they're not getting it at home. They're only getting it under special conditions or not at all, which sucks. But unlike Chihaya, who's brave, he's a coward because he's so afraid of what losing and rejection could be, because it's been literally conditioned for him to be that way. Then you have Arata, who, like Chihaya, is determined. He has a dream to be a master karate player. And we'll talk about the master and the queen later on. But and the funny thing about Arata is it's kind of like, it's this triangle. It's definitely a love triangle where each of them have certain traits that the other has. Like, Arata is kind, like Chihaya, but he's also a little cowardly. Like him at the end where he's like quietly like saying her name, like her on a first name basis. He's like, oh, Chihaya. And when he's like kind of hesitant and doesn't stand up for himself in class, like Chihaya and Taichi stand up for themselves, whether it's forced or fake or real, they still stand up for themselves. But Arata's kind of scared to do that. So when he hands the glasses back at the end of the episode, Arata's like, yeah, that was a real dick move, but I know why you did it and I understand. I'm like, oh. So I love that. And then what's crazy is that Arata seems to have a really good relationship with his mom. His mom seems like an absolute sweetheart and seems so supportive of him, which is very unlike Chihaya and unlike Taichi's family. But we don't know about his dad. We don't know about his grandpa or whatever, or if that was his dad in the picture. It seems like Arata's family is torn maybe, and they're definitely impoverished. So he has a different family environment than the mom, who seems very posh. Like, she has the nice... Here's the thing. Arata's mom didn't come to the game because she was probably working a job. That's the thing. It's like, with parent-wise, Chihaya's parents are more focused on the sister and her success than coming to their daughter's match, which sucks. Taichi, they're just focused on the success that he has. And you can tell that they are rich or wealthy because, I mean, honestly, those little handheld cameras are like $600. I know because I bought one for the channel to do the manga reactions, like the Trigun and the Berserk reactions and the Dungeon Meshi cooking videos. I bought it. It was expensive. And that was like a low end one. So I was like, So that digital camera was not cheap. And she just is casually holding it up like it's this fancy new thing. Meanwhile, Arata's mom is probably at work making money for their little tiny studio apartment and is not able to come because she's trying to like fulfill those obligations. So yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see the dynamics here. So yeah, and so they decide to have this tournament, and I love that she says in the moment, she's like, it was a reckless bet, but it felt so right because I didn't have anything where I could claim that no one else could ever beat me. I love that this bet between these two boys, who one is trying to make a stake at his own passion and the other one is trying to like shut him up so he can steal Chihaya back. The match doesn't end up becoming something that benefits either of them. Instead, it propels Chihaya into realizing her own dream. And I think that that's so fantastic. I kind of love it. So we have the episode's called The Red That Is, which is the card that Chihaya gets that wins the match. That's the card that's about her. So, and now the flower that blooms is part of the poem they say at the start of every Kurata match to open the ceremonies. So that all makes sense now. But yeah, the mom has the very nice digital camera and she's taping his match. Taichi looks a lot like his mom. They have the same eyes and hair color kind of. But yeah, it shows Arata. And of course, Taichi's jealous because Chihaya is spending all of her time with Arata. But the thing about it is, you go over and see, here's the thing. Because he's like bragging to his friends. He's like, the next match will be easy. It'll be a piece of cake. Chihaya is probably not hanging out with Taichi because one, she knows those other kids are kind of little bitches because they're mean to Arata. But also she's like, you got this, Taichi. You have a bunch of friends. You've got support. That's fine. Arata doesn't have anybody with him. So I'm going to support him, obviously. So yeah, it is really nice. But yeah, I love the intensity and everybody's just like, oh, can we be that intense? Is that allowed at this sixth grade karate match? I love it. And I love that he's so serious. But all the other kids are like, yeah, that was crazy. Does Taichi even have a chance? And now one kid says he'll be fine. He can do anything. And his mom will be on his case if he loses. So even the kids at school know that his parents are really serious about him winning. He'll do whatever it takes to win if he doesn't want to get in trouble. So even the friends know that this is like how high stakes this is for him, which I feel really bad for Taichi. I do. He's a little snot and what he does is really mean and unacceptable, but I get why he does it. And I feel kind of bad for him because he's been conditioned by his parents that he has to win or else, which is really stupid. Meanwhile, Chihaya is hanging out with Arata and she's like, at this rate, you're going to win and have a perfect victory. It'll be great. And I just love that he's not arrogant. Now, I don't know how he'll be in high school, if that will change. And I'm very curious to see, we're getting all this setup of them in middle school, of them in grade school, to see how they were before the middle school years where puberty sets in. But we're getting to see how they are in sixth grade and their personalities. I'm going to be very curious when we jump back to high school. I mean, Chihaya seems about the same, just more determined, more kind, more brave. But I'm curious to see the character growth we get for Taichi as well as Arata. Because I personally think Arata is going to get more arrogant. I think their personalities are going to flip, which is going to be interesting. So we'll see. We'll see if that holds true. But I love that Arata is like, no, you got a card from me. That was all on you. And she's like, oh, well, you let me. And he's like, no, it wasn't a fluke. He's like, you have a natural talent for this. And what I love about it is that right now in the series, Taichi is not, like both high school Taichi and sixth grade Taichi are not very encouraging of Chihaya to play. They're like, oh, you should give up. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't make yourself go through it. And a lot of it is that Taichi, I don't know if he has faith that Chihaya can be a good player. I feel like he has kind of a lack of faith in Chihaya. And then you have Arata who has faith in her potential, which is kind of why I'm definitely like kind of in-game Arata, but I'm going to give Taichi a chance in the high school setting. But the fact that Arata is like, you have instinct, you can do this. And we don't know how that will be when we get to high school Arata. We don't know how that'll be. We don't know what he thinks as a high schooler because we've not got there yet with him. But Taichi in high school does not have faith that Chihaya could be a queen or could be a top-notch player. He doesn't have faith. He should tell her she should just give up. And a lot of that could be projection of his own insecurities onto her. But still, he's still telling her to give it up, whether it's a projection of his insecurities or not. And I don't know if Arata is going to do that in the high school scene. I guess we'll have to just wait and see. But yeah, the moment he threw the Coca-Cola, which, hello, product placement, the moment he threw it, I was like, don't open up that can of soda. It is going to spurt everywhere. And then it does. But joke's on Taichi, who thought he was going to get at Arata. It ends up getting him and Chihaya even closer. But then he decides to steal the glasses. Now, how he stole them glasses from that windowsill without Chihaya noticing, who knows? But he took them anyway. I guess when you see it from the perspective of where Arata is, she is far back from the windowsill and didn't see it. So she probably just wasn't looking. But yeah, Arata notices that it was Taichi that stole them. And Taichi's lucky he didn't break. So his eyesight without glasses is pretty bad. He's got a pretty bad eyesight, which I feel him. I had to start wearing glasses when I was in 3rd grade. My eyesight is pretty terrible if I don't have contacts or glasses in. It's pretty bad. I honestly, though, I think that from the beginning, when he first memorized where the cards were, he has a photographic memory. So as long as he can memorize the placement, he's fine. But then the moment that the cards get reshuffled, that's when things took a downward turn. So it is good to note that even though Arata has a photographic memory, it can only take him so far once the cards get shuffled, and then he has to go back to like trying to figure it all out, right? But the moment that Chihaya told him, she's like, oh, well, Taichi wouldn't have stole your glasses. No one would be that heartless. I was like, okay. Ultimate guilt trip for Taichi. I'm glad that he gave them back to Arata, and I'm glad that he admitted that he took them. He didn't just find them. And I'm glad that Arata was enough of a big enough person to be like, no, I get why you did. It's fine. Their dynamic is so crazy, and I'm so obsessed already. Like, I love also that this rivalry isn't just between Arata and Taichi. It kind of is, but it's not just that. It's also Taichi, at least at the 6th grade level. It's also Taichi facing Chihaya and competing against her and all this. Although the mom being somewhat sexist is like, girl. Like when the mom's like, you lost to a girl. And I'm like, ma'am, did you push him out of your vagina? Do you understand? Like, just, which I've seen moms like that. So I'm just like, oh my God, like early 2000s, y'all. 'Twas a different time. But yeah, I kind of like the idea that they kind of are competing against each other. This is the series that replaced ping pong. And in that series, without spoiling anything, there is a female character who plays ping pong that is friends with 2 other male players that play ping pong. And they're kind of, it feels like separate divisions, but they all played together. So there was like a little rivalry there, which is fun. It's interesting to know. I'm not surprised that there's women karate but maybe they both play. It feels like the playing is co-ed, where men and women play against each other, but there are 2 titles given. There's a master and there's a queen, which is interesting. Part of me would think it would be amazing if Chihaya was like, I'm going to be the master of karate. And Arata's like, oh, you're going to be the queen? She's like, no, I'm going to be the master. I was like, yeah, come on, girl. Be like, screw them gendered titles, right? So I think that would be hilarious. But also, if she were the queen and he was the master, there's such a ship with that. But I feel like later on it's setting up that Taichi and Arata are both going to fight to be masters so that they can be the masters or the king to her queen. We'll see if that ends up going anywhere, but I'm very curious. There's so much being set up in this series that you can take later on that I feel like can have such payoffs down the road. I'm really excited to see if that happens. But anyway, so I loved that the one card he picked up says, I have learned to both love and hate my fellow man. Well, if that's not a statement that's going to apply to this series, I don't know what else is, because we've run the gambit of emotions for all 3 of them so far, which is great. So yeah, the mom is just like the mom, again, establishing she's got the pearl necklace, the suit blazer, the nice, camcorder. They come from money, which is the polar opposite of Arata, right? Which also kind of explains Taichi's reactions towards Arata because he's probably been told about how bad poor people are from his wealthy, posh parents. So that's just an allegation. I don't know if that's true. And they call him an outsider. That's what you get for bragging about being good at karate. Which, he is good at karate. He's disadvantaged because he doesn't have his glasses. And I hate that he started to cry. And that's when Chihaya takes over. I love that she comes in with the maple leaves on her, like this brush of autumn wind. And she's like, no, I got this. She's like, I'm going to help you. She's like, I want to face him. I love the one woman that's kind of the referee during all this. She's like, this is the most exciting thing that's happened in my teaching career thus far this semester. So she's all about it. She's like, sure, there's no law saying we can't. I mean, it's highly unorthodox, but let the girl play. I'm just finishing up Revolutionary Girl Utena on the channel, and Chihaya gives me very Utena vibes in the best way possible, so I kind of love it. And yeah, all of this is Taichi's fault. If Taichi hadn't stole the glasses, we wouldn't have been able to do this. But Taichi also is like, well, Chihaya's weaker, so of course I'm going to be able to battle her. And she's like, okay, thanks. Like, Chihaya's a freaking saint. Girl does not, she lets everything, it's like water off a duck's back. And even when it does affect her, she moves on from it. It gives me Natsume Book of Friend vibes, which Natsume is a precious angel baby that I want to protect at all costs. I'm getting the same vibes from Chihaya. And I don't blame these boys for wanting to protect her. She is so wonderful. I love it. But I love that she also says, I'm not just going to win this match for Arata. She's like, I'm not just winning it for him. I'm not just doing it for him. I'm the one who's going to defeat Taichi. I like that without saying it because it takes a lot of courage for her to build that up and say it. She's doing it for herself. She's like, I want to be the one to defeat him. I want to prove myself in this moment and that I can do it. I mean, girl didn't have to battle in the tournament. She went straight to the final, but I love it. And I love that she kind of cheats. Not cheats, but her strategy is to follow his eyesight. I mean, that's not going to take you very far in the long run because a more advanced player in high school is going to figure that out, what you're doing, and try to... I kept waiting for Taichi to figure it out and, like, look the wrong way to, like, make her look away, and then he would get the card. But they're 6th graders, so he didn't realize that's what she was doing. But if she tries that technique in high school or later down the road in future episodes, I could see somebody being like, well, that's not going to work on me. But yeah, I just love it. I love that Arata just watches her defend him. And then she ends up going, and he's like, and Taichi's like, is she doing it for that loser? And Taichi can get a little narrow-minded. Again, these are all just 6th graders. They're little kids, right? So we're criticizing small children. But he's like, is she doing this for that loser? And it's like, no, she's doing this for herself too. And he's so insecure in this moment because he knows he's goofed up. He knows he's, made his friend do something for something else. And she's like, oh, I got it. And the mom looks disgruntled. She looks unhappy that her son's losing. Which, I mean, no offense, but not getting parent of the year when you tell your kid that the video wasn't worth showing because your kid didn't win. Like, I don't like dealing with these parents in real life at all. So, and then they both go for the card to take it. I love that her friends are like, yeah, she got one. Go Chi-chan. And there's one card left. And she realizes it's the card that's her name. I love it. I love that that's the card and that does it. Which girl got lucky that was the last card because she didn't know the other ones. Girl got lucky. I do think it's funny they called her the 6th grade champion when she didn't advance in the tournament till the last round. She like just snuck in. And he's like, well, who cares if I'm not good at karate? And here's the difference. Taichi was instantly defensive because he lost the match. And he was like, well, who cares if I'm not good? It's just a stupid game anyway. And Chihaya didn't care that she won. The winning part wasn't what was important. She wanted to win. She wanted to do it for Arata and herself. But at the end of the day, I think even if she had lost the match, she would have said it was fun. And she's like, well, it was still fun either way, right? And that's the difference. Taichi doesn't do things because they're fun. He does things because he's forced to win. And she's like, well, it would have been a different story if, you'd faced Arata because he's going to become a master. And then Arata says, well, that makes you the queen. And he says that, and she's like, queen? He says the title given to the strongest female player is that. And I kind of like the idea that Arata and Chihaya could be both like the two strongest players in the game. She's like, I could be the strongest in the world. I'm still curious if she's gonna like try to challenge Arata to be like, well, I want to be the master. I don't know how that works. I don't know if that's even possible in this series. We'll see as we go. But at least if she's like, I could be the queen, the best player in Japan or the world, that would still be really cool. And then he's like, I think you have that talent for Kurata. I'm gonna be curious to see adult or teenage high school Arata. I'm going to be very curious to see him and if he still believes that about her and thinks she has that talent. I'm going to be real curious to see if it's going to go that way. I don't know. So then she got, you performed admirably in the elementary school karate tournament. The thing that sucks is that her family just completely ignores her, and her sister ignores her too. Like, I hate that. And we don't see her cry, but we just see her kind of like hunker down off the phone. That part was so sad. That was really sad. I felt so bad for her. Meanwhile, you have the sexist mom who's like, well, how could you lose to a girl? And I'm like, well, you're a girl, ma'am. Are you selling yourself short? She's like, I was recording your matches and now I can't show it to your father. Like, what a terrible mom. And she's like, well, it doesn't matter if you can play it or not. If you're going to lose, then you can't play in tournaments. I'm like, that is so toxic and so bad, because you have to lose sometimes to get motivated, and you have to lose sometimes to learn and be better. Like, you're not going to win every game in life. That's a terrible lesson to teach your child. That will lead them to be a dysfunctional person later on. What are you doing, ma'am? She's like, well, you're a good student and a good athlete, so you need to focus on what you can win. She basically just tells him to play it safe. Play it safe in life. Don't make any bets you can't lose, that you can't be guaranteed to win, and just skate through life, riding on your good brain, your intelligence and your athleticism, and just go for it. But like, what kind of life is that if you don't get to pursue what you're passionate about? And so I feel like that's why he is in high school the way he is in episode 1, because she's just like, focus on what you can win. And it's like, but that's not conducive to grow as a person. And the thing that gets me is that when she sees him again, she is kind of sad. And she, he's like, well, you beat me. Why are you upset? And she's like, I'm not upset. But she doesn't tell him about her family not accepting her win or accepting her accomplishments. And then they get distracted by Arata. Again, what I really like about this series is that Chihaya and Taichi are both kind of like these rays of sunshine in ways, and Arata's kind of like the cool moon. But when they both get flustered because of their kind of bad home lives, Arata kind of becomes this anchor and buffer for that, which I am 1,000 times for and I love. So I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, so we find out that Chihaya has good hearing. It's one of her natural skills, which is super, super helpful in karate. So being able to hear and have good hearing, that's helpful. But she talks about how, she's like, I need to be a good student. It's so I could be a good student athlete like you. And he's like, oh, I was born this good. I love he has like the nose. And she's like, I know you made flashcards to learn the 100 poets. And he says that he doesn't want people to know he's a dork. But I'm like, how else do you think people, granted, Arata has a photographic memory, so that's different. But even he studies. Like, how did you think people were going to expect you to know them all? Of course you had to study and make flashcards. And then he's like, well, it doesn't matter. Everybody, don't tell anyone. They're going to think I'm lame, especially because I lost to you. And she's like, what's lame about losing in a fair fight? She's like, what? I like that she says that, because one, just because she's a girl should not matter, especially in a game where it's not physical athleticism. It's literally your intelligence. Like, men and women, it should not be judged that way. So she's like, why, who cares if you lost to me? It was a fair fight, right? And the other thing is him saying that, I lost to you, it diminishes her victory by him saying that. So she's like, don't trash talk my victory just because you couldn't beat me. That doesn't make me any less of a winner. I'm like, work, girl. I love it. And she's like, well, at least that's what I think. I love that she just challenges Taichi. And he's like, well, nobody's going to praise you for doing well in karate. And which normally I think that would strike home at her, because she just experienced no one praising her for being good at karate. Like, she just experienced that. and he's kind of experienced that too. But rather than them wallowing in despair, they have this buffer that is Arata, who literally, no matter what the case, is so passionate about Kurata that he keeps playing despite the fact that he didn't do well today. He's still practicing. He's still moving forward. He's learning from his mistakes. And that's so beautiful. I love that. And they both get kind of inspired by him, that even if he can't see, he keeps working hard at it. And Arata just has the mentality for it that I love. I'm instantly into Arata's character. Like, I'm excited for Taichi's growth that he could experience and all the potential with that. But Arata is just, I love him. I love how he just pours himself into it. And he doesn't brag about it. He doesn't make it a big deal. It's just how he is. And so then Chihaya's like, hey, I'm going to look for your glasses. As soon as she said she was going to look for the glasses, I'm like, okay, Taichi's going to give them back and explain that it was him. And it was going to happen. And then it did, because little kids are kind of predictable that way. And then he says he found them, but he's like, no, I actually took them. I stole them. And also, I'm like, girl, Chihaya, bless her heart, she gets so enthusiastic, but I'm like, why are you looking in a bird's nest for them glasses? Those birds weren't going to carry those glasses off. They weren't that light. And he says, don't tell Chihaya. I don't want her to hate me. Ooh, this whole plot point is gonna come back. I know it is at like the worst time or the best time. And we just got to wait and see when it's going to be, but it's gonna come back. But yeah, he's like, I don't want her to hate me for what's happened. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I like that Arata kind of gets it. He's like, no, she's a good person. I understand. And he said, Mashima, you're a coward. But I like that he says there, he's like, but what does he say? But I understand you. I like that he's like, I understand how you feel. I like that he says, I get you wanted to win and you were willing to do anything to do it. I get that feeling. And I also get that you don't want Chihaya to hate you because she is an amazing person and I would want her on my side as well. So I'm like, oh, these sixth graders going through these emotional feels in this second episode of the series. And then I love that she falls on them. And of course, Taichi and her are on first name basis with Chihaya. And then I like that Arata's like, well, if this brat's on first name basis with her, I'm going to be on first name basis with her. But then he like blushes as he says it. Y'all know where my shipping loyalties lie right now, but I feel like there is a lot of potential with Taichi and Chihaya moving forward, especially once we get back to their high school years. So I'm really excited to see that develop. And then her like landing on both of them. It's like, girl, you are spoiled for choice. You have two amazing ships, like the sun and the moon, and she's the star. Ah, it's just so good. I'm like, can we just have a polyamorous three-way relationship? Can we do that? Is that possible? Yeah. I would discover many lifelong treasures this winter. I love that the red leaves are starting to come down like it's fall, and then we're going to transition into winter. I'm really excited. I'm really excited. I'm very curious. My one curiosity, and I don't want you all to answer this question. This is just me spewing out a rhetorical question that the show is going to answer for me. I'm really curious if we're going to do one of two things or one of three things. Either because we started out having like the past and the present together in episode 1, and then this episode was all the past. So I don't know if we're going to do like the past to a point and then the present, or like the past and present together throughout the rest of the series moving forward, or jump back to the present with past sprinkled in. I don't know if we're going to do like 8 episodes that are all in the past and then we're going to jump to the present time and just randomly go back if needed. I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know how they're going to establish the timeline and what we're going to get, but I'm excited for us to be in the past right now. But I'm already like, the more we get their backstory and what's led them up to be this way, the more I'm really eager to get back into the present and see like how their current relationships are and what happens there. But we'll just have to wait and see, right? So in any case, I am excited to hear your comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this reaction and discussion. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen on episode 3 of Chihayafuru. I'll see you then.